Seen in Los Angeles. Jason Jones, thanks so much for that update. With us now, Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and Republican California State Representative. Also joining us, Neama Rahmani, who works and lives in Los Angeles, the president of West Coast Trial Attorneys and former federal prosecutor. Welcome to you both, and thanks for coming on. Neama, I'd like to start with you. If you could describe what it's been like just being an LA resident over these past few days.
It's been challenging, Emma. It's been a war zone in Los Angeles, but I don't necessarily think it's as bad as folks have been saying, maybe because I'm used to it. You know, the protests have been peaceful. Obviously, we have seen the violence, but now that the National Guard has been deployed, it's more or less under control. You know, folks have been going into my office every day. There haven't been issues. Obviously, we needed that additional federal support, so I'm glad that President Trump did authorize and federalize that National Guard. But so far, I think things are trending in the right direction.
And Carl, I want to get to this because we are hearing both rhetoric from both sides here. You got the administration saying one thing, then you have what the Democrats and what the governor is saying there in California about the response. President Trump responding to Gavin Newsom's comments here that he wants a civil war. Watch this.
What do you make of the fact that he says, you want a civil war on the streets of America?
No, that's just the opposite. I don't want a civil war. A civil war would happen if you left it to people like him. And I liked him. You know, I always got along with him. Never had a problem with him. But he's grossly incompetent.
So, Carl, your response there from the president's comments. I mean, if he hadn't have done something, would this have escalated?
President Trump is absolutely right. Gavin Newsom is completely incompetent. And Newsom has allowed lawlessness in California. Have people been paying attention? This isn't the first time LA has rioted under his administration. And we've had a crime wave in California because California Democrats have passed law after law to coddle criminals and to undermine law enforcement. So why are we surprised when Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass and California Democrats don't do anything about attacks on law enforcement or lawlessness or riots? And in fact, what we found in the state legislature as we follow the money is that Newsom and the Democrats have funded the left-wing groups that have organized these violent protests with hundreds of millions of dollars of state taxpayer money. And yesterday we provided the tallies to these groups. The Coalition for Immigrant Humane Rights LA runs a snitch line where they encourage people to call in and report where they see ICE activity so that then this taxpayer-funded organization can deploy agitators to confront them and impede federal law enforcement from serving subpoenas and doing their job to enforce federal law. This is obstruction of justice. It is funded by Gavin Newsom and California Democrats. We have the receipts. And unfortunately, the liberal media refuses to cover this. I think we need a RICO investigation because this really now has risen to the level of organizations funded by state taxpayer money that are officially impeding federal investigators.
Well, Carl, you've got my attention, right? I'm curious to look over what receipts you say you've got. And again, we'd be happy to follow the story because it is incredible how just overnight people show up. They're all in the same place there. And it's pretty predictable. Let's move on, though, to a different Democratic viewpoint. This one comes from Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman, who shared this message on X, saying, "I unapologetically stand for free speech, peaceful demonstrations, and immigration. But this is not that. This is anarchy and true chaos. My party loses the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement." I mean, Neama, it's really that simple, isn't it? And yet, totally different message than really what we're hearing from Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass.
Absolutely.
Well, look, John Fetterman is right. The senator and people have the right to speech and to protest and to march. We knew that there was going to be backlash when it came to immigration enforcement here in Los Angeles. Up to 10% of the county is undocumented. So you're talking about tens or hundreds of thousands of people, maybe upwards of 1 million. But obviously, you know, attacks on our police officers, attacks on our federal agents, that's absolutely unacceptable. Those individuals should be prosecuted. And we really need to separate politics and the law. And if someone is breaking the law, you know, that's where the district attorney or the U.S. attorney needs to come in, and they need to make sure that those individuals are held accountable. I think what people need to understand, though, is because of California law and the commandeering under the Constitution, local and state law enforcement, they can't help DHS and ICE agents. So if they're going to conduct these raids, they need to make sure that they have the bodies and the manpower and woman power to do it safely and to do it in a way that makes sure that our federal agents are not only doing their job, but safe when they do so.
Yeah. We've heard that repeated from the White House. They say you got to pass the beautiful bill, which secures additional funding for ICE agents here. So efforts to, again, root out people who are here illegally, those who are committing crimes in this country, and deport them. We have to leave it there, gentlemen. Carl DeMaio and Neama Rahmani, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Emma John.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Doug Burns is here with us on set, former federal prosecutor, Newsmax.